I'm a general partner at Norwest, and I'm doing this for 12 years. And I'll try to share in the next 30 minutes kind of how we think as VCs about new investments opportunities, especially in the cybersecurity space. And the way I wanted to go about that is to present some of the thinking process we had when we invested in some of the companies that were mentioned and from the space. Just to start, who we are at Norwest, it's a large fund. It's a $2 billion fund that we invest out of, and we manage about $10 billion. Invested in hundreds of companies in the US, Israel, India, at all stages. Most of these companies we'll talk about today started as the first money in a company, or we can invest pre-IPO, deploy 50, 60, $100 million in one company. On the right side, I added a small list, not all the list of all the companies we invested in the security space, but just to give you a sense of the security companies we invested in. Some exited, some are still active portfolio companies in the space. So how do we think, what are the main pillars that I would like to present today in 25 minutes or so of presentation when we look about a new investment opportunity? So we try, and these are the three things I'll discuss today. We'll try to look at the trend, the product, and the customer. Obviously the team and all kind of other things that we look at, but in cybersecurity, these are really important things, and I'll give examples on these three pillars. Let's start with the trend. I'm sure you saw this slide in different variations before, and really it's meant only to calibrate all of us on what I'm trying to present here. And it's really the trends. So the good news for investors is that attack surface is growing and growing rapidly, as we all know, which is why we're talking about this. So when attack surface grows, there are new opportunities to build new companies. And that's our job in this ecosystem, to invest in new entrepreneurs that come in and say, you know what, there's a new attack vector that comes in, or a new trend that needs to be supported, and all the existing products cannot do it very well. We'd like to build a new company, or we build a company and we have a few customers, we want to expand it to go after this attack surface. So just to calibrate everything, so if in the 90s, most of the enterprise assets were behind the firewall, it was easier, not easy, but easier environment to defend. And as we progress over time, we move to the year 2000. We build more connectivity to the internet. We build applications, web applications. When you build web applications, they get attacked, right? And therefore, you see more web attacks. You see malware that is propagating in enterprise and getting more and more sophisticated. Then we go to the next decade. Now we're talking about SaaS applications start popping up at, in a big amount, as opposed to on-prem enterprise applications. Obviously, mobile devices, data is spreading all over. And then we move to the 2020s and beyond. Now we're going to have many, many unmanaged devices. We've got people working from home. We talked about it a lot today. SaaS applications will just grow further to tens or hundreds of applications per company, where the data is distributed all over, and so on and so forth. So all these trends generate, obviously, cyber crimes and techniques that are going after taking advantage on these trends. So this is nothing new from my side. What's really interesting is how do we see that as investors, and when we decide to make an investment. So to present that, I thought, why don't we take the companies we invested in and look at the trends that drove us to invest in those companies. So the first one is 41st Parameter. I don't know how many of you remember this company. We invested in them in 2005, and they came in and said, you know what, there is a trend to build more and more banking applications and for users to log in from the internet and start using them. But they're going to be fraud, they're going to be identity theft, and later on phishing attacks on those. And we don't think the current products that exist in the market can support that. They were not the only team. There were a few other teams, by the way. Most of these teams that build products to this market did extremely well, and the trends were clear. And that's when we decided to invest. 2005. 8 years later, the company was acquired by Experian. A similar situation happened in the company, I'm sure most of you know, called FireEye. We invested in FireEye from the first day, and the company came and said, you know what, all this internet connectivity that happens from the enterprise is generating vulnerability. And this vulnerability will generate, there were some early days of malware, and we can build a product that is going to help enterprises deal with that. That was 2005 when all this industry started. Now, obviously, many products are dealing with these issues, but those were the trends that FireEye went after, and the company did extremely well and IPO'd in 2013. Next one is Shape Security. Shape came and said, there are solutions for web attacks and to defend web pages from attacks from the outside. But you know what happens? There is a new trend where significant bot attacks are taking place, and the current products are not able to deal with those. And we think that in order to deal with these bots, you need something that will fool these bots in a significant way. And that was the Shape's idea. We kind of agreed with the trend, and team was a stellar team, and we invested in the company, and we sold the company last year to F5. I think it was advertised was more than $1 billion acquisition. Next one is a company of my own, first money in the company. Fireglass said the same thing. There's malware, APT, almost every security company says that, and we'll find a solution. But Fireglass said, we'll do it in a different way. You cannot fight malware forever, and they're going to find a way in. We think that in order to deal with that in a significant way, you need to isolate at least a portion of your enterprise from these web attacks. And they came up with this idea of building an isolation tool, an isolation proxy. And the idea was that we can build a company that would be next generation secure gateway. And Symantec, Blue Code, saw the same thing and came and acquired the company in 2017, 3 years after we made the first investment in the company. Two more examples, Exabeam, a live portfolio company doing extremely well, raised $190 million today. And Nir, the CEO, came and said, you know what, we think that there are going to be so many security products in the enterprise, generating so many logs, and it's going to be crazy to be able to deal with all these logs. And what do you know? We think that the current SIEM products in the market do not scale very well. We don't think they are set to be able to address those trends. And we want to build a next generation SIEM, but in order to start, we'll build something close to the SIEM, which is user behavior analytics. And eventually that will help to deal with all these alerts that is coming in and deal with the shortage in security analysts that come to play with all these new logs that are coming in, right? Last one, another company I invested in couple of years ago, so it didn't take a long time. We're all aware of attacks that took place into critical infrastructures. Obviously, the business impact in a critical infrastructure attack can be very significant. Imagine, taking down, a power plant of some sort, or a drugs company, or something like that. And 10 years ago, everybody said no need to do that because those environments are not connected to the internet. But what do you know? Now they are in some way. And so the trend was clear that we do need a product just for that. There are a few companies addressing this problem, and we were impressed with the team. Invested in 2008, they executed well, and Microsoft came in and acquired the company a couple of years ago. So this is just kind of give a sense on the trend, and when we look at the trend. Next one is not just a trend, because sometimes the trend does create a change in the way the market is being set up. So if we talked about two of the issues, that the integration complexities of many products and the shortage in security professionals, um, what happens to small enterprises when a team is very small and cannot deal with all these things like a big enterprise that has thousands of people dealing with security? What do you do then? What product should these customers use? So here we're not talking about a trend per se that is connected with a crime of some sort or something like that, but really the customer we go after. So then we invested in a company called Cynet that 2 years ago, also doing very well. And the company is saying, we'll build a product for this market, specifically for this market, because it's well integrated from day one. Okay, so this is how we look into the trends. Next one is the product. Okay, so let's agree that the idea that the entrepreneurs came with for a new cybersecurity product makes sense, either a product or a service. Then what does this product belong to? What category should we think about this product? Is it like a new endpoint type security or on-prem premises of some sort? Is it like a data-oriented security that comes to protect the enterprise data? Because at the end of the day, we need to kind of see, okay, what competitors would this company see in the market? Okay, one of the questions I like to ask entrepreneurs, especially in the early stages when we make investments, I say, try to imagine 5 years from now, what kind of quadrant Gartner will publish, and why will you be the top vendor in that quadrant? And then they pause and they say, oh, we didn't think about that, but let me think, because I say, if you know the name of this quadrant, Gartner may choose a different name, but if you know that name, you'll know how to develop your company in the right way. And that's the product segment of how we look into new opportunities. Okay. Next one is the customer, right? Customer is obviously the CISO. And it's hard to understand, in preparing for this presentation, I try to kind of get some information, market information, how much of the budget, enterprise budget, is allocated to the security side. And what I heard is, what I found out is one report from Gartner that shows that, hey, although security is about 5 to 10% of the total IT budget, it is growing faster than the IT budget. And that makes sense, looking at the, attack vector that is growing as we saw in the previous slides. So that's good news for this industry, and that's why we're investing in this industry. Okay, every time there's growth in spending, we would invest to build companies there. But here's the issue, and that's the issue we think hardly about. The CISO budget is reserved. Most of it is reserved. I don't know what exactly. Obviously, it depends on each company. Sometimes it's 80%, sometimes it's 90%, sometimes it's more. That's already allocated to some compliance products, some expansion that is required in the firewalling, in the endpoint security, and so on. And then whatever is left, whether it could be 5%, 10% of that budget, is allocated to new things, to new attack vectors, to evaluating new products, right? And then you have thousands of companies building products that try to tell the CISO, hey, there's a new threat, you should buy our product and use that budget to protect your enterprise from this new threat. And that's challenging because, and we all know that CISOs, I'm sure a lot of you in this audience that are CISOs, can share experiences with getting calls all over the place, emails, calls, whatever, from vendors, startup vendors that are trying to sell you products. And that's the reason, that's a challenge here, right? So when you think about building a new company, we're thinking about this issue. So, and as you all know, but unlike SaaS, if we even show there's no way to show easy ROI to new security budget. And then, I'm sure that you as CISOs try to find all kind of KPIs to justify new spending. So looking at all these three things, the trends, the product, and the budget, let's summarize the total, the way we look into this whole thing, okay? So this is a summary slide, and then we go to questions. So the first question we ask ourselves when we see a good team coming with a new idea, is the trend that they're talking about, is it persistent, right? For example, I don't think everybody will doubt that the trend to build new enterprise applications in the cloud is persistent. There'll be more of those in the future, right? The trend to work from home is persistent now, but nobody knows what percentage of the enterprise will work from home in a year from now, in 2 years from now, in 5 years from now, right? So we don't know that. And you know, a product that says 100% of the enterprise will work from home, you know, we'll question, you know, if that trend is persistent. And the second question is, they come with a new idea for a new product, and we ask ourselves, can the existing products address that trend? For example, if a company will come and say, you know what, the firewall in the cloud is not the same as the firewall on-prem, and we think we need a new product, right? Because Palo Alto or Checkpoint will not transfer well to the cloud, whether it's true or not. But that's something we have to test, right? Next question is the idea a new feature? So maybe it's a new idea. Maybe it's a new opportunity to build something that is not addressed well by the current product. But is it a feature, or is it a really new category that is being created? Obviously, if it's a feature means new capability that an existing product can add to itself. The outcome of this company will not be big. It will be $50–100 million exit, which will not interest the fund and our size. If it's a new category and we think the team can build one, then it's really interesting. Next one is, does the new product replace an existing product, right? Or it will require a new budget. I'm going back to the CISO budget, right? So if it replaces a new product, an existing product, and the budget exists, we have to convince the CISO that the new product is much better, much more set for the future threats. Then we have a better chance to make unit economics, which is lifetime value over customer acquisition cost, work better than a product that is new and we're required to find new budgets, right? Obviously, we do ask ourselves, is the best, if the team that is showing us this new opportunity is the best in the business, both in the technology side and in the go-to-market side, to build a new company. And finally, can this product evolve to be a platform? Example, SIEM is a platform, right? It's a platform that requires a lot of integration. The more you build a platform versus a point solution, the better opportunity you have to build a multi-billion-dollar outcome. So these are all the things we look at when we see a new opportunity to invest in cybersecurity.